Okay, we are live in YouTube and we are really hoping that this is streaming to the right channel. It's kind of populating in YouTube here. Oh, there was a bit of a pause. And I think we are live in YouTube and we're really
you better mute that.
I closed it. Okay, this is new for us, so bear with us. We're getting this rocking and rolling. Here we go. We are here live tonight to talk to you about brain health. What? I was gonna wear my bike helmet. I can't find it. But I want you to picture me with a bike helmet on, okay? Because we have to protect our brains. Number one, protect your brain, right? They always talk about how the guts are your second brain. And we always talk about guts. So we were like, maybe we should actually talk about the brain and all the brain health. So we bring to you today the Katrina and Renee show, the two healthy hens. I don't know,
Cluck,
just
cluck.
pay attention. Cluck, cluck, right? Oh my gosh, I love it.
Sorry. I'm having a chicken dance. Oh my God.
Join us in the coop. So here we are. And so we're going to talk about how to keep your brain healthy, which of course is good for longevity, get out of that brain fog, make sure that you are thinking and remembering, right? You know, they always say, oh, walk through a door and now I forget why I'm here. So have you had that happen yet? So we're going to teach you how to prevent that and little things that you can do to make sure that you're thinking and remembering and making sure that you're being accomplished and not suffering from exhaustion and brain fog and feeling tired, because all of that comes into play of when our brains are not operating in tip-top shape. So I don't know, let's just banter, Renee.
Yeah. Well, it's important because, if you're watching and you are like us, where you're in your midlife, I mean, your brain does deteriorate, after you hit midlife. It ages just like your body does. So you really do need to keep it fit, just like you do with the rest of your body, because you've probably realized that, hey, you try to remember things and it's like, I came into this room to do something, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what I came to do. It's stuff like that. And you're like, oh, what's going on? So there are things you can do to just help your brain, like, continue to age gracefully, just like your body, I guess. So I've got a whole list of things that you can try that will help keep your brain in tip-top shape. I mean, of course, the number one thing I'm going to say is eat a healthy diet. I mean, you have to, right? And it actually has been known that eating a plant-based diet rich in vegetables and fruits and legumes, nuts and seeds, they contain fiber and other healthy nutrients, and they promote healthy gut bacteria and help protect the brain against inflammation. So it's not saying that you have to be plant-based, but you want to limit the amount of animal food that you have, or animal protein. You want to make sure you're getting, I would say, eat the rainbow, like, make sure you're getting a varied amount in your diet, because it all goes back to the inflammation in your body and your brain. So when your body becomes inflamed, so does your brain. And then when your brain is inflamed, that's when you start to see some issues that could come up. So I always say, first things first, eat a healthy diet. But the other thing that's really good as well is to stay, moving, right? Exercise on a regular basis, exercise daily. And it doesn't have to be like an hour at the gym every day. It could be 20 minutes every day, because what happens is exercise actually enriches the blood and therefore your brain with oxygen. So you really want to make sure you are getting regular movement.
And you want to, when you talk about movement, I just want to clarify for everybody that's watching. So when we are talking about movement and you're saying getting that oxygen level into your brains, we want to get your heart rate to your target heart rate zone, right?
Yeah, you want to
Like
get your
in the-
heart rate and you want that cardio. You want to get your heart and lungs pumping. So brisk walking is good. It doesn't mean you have to go and do like, I do Orange Theory. I think you heard me say this. I love it, but you don't have to be that extreme. You just have to go out for a brisk walk and make sure you are getting your heart rate going faster. And I think what I've read is like the goal is about 150 minutes of cardio or aerobic exercise per week, which is only about 22 minutes a day. So it's actually not that bad when you think of it.
7 days a
So-
week, 5 days a week.
Well, 150 minutes a week. So what is that? I don't know. Don't make me calculate.
I was like, so where are we?
I don't know. I guess it'd be something.
The only thing, we're not very good with numbers now, are we?
Well, I can pull up my calculator, but I don't know. And you want to make sure you're not sitting too much either.
7 days a week.
There have been some
7.
studies. 7, okay. There have been some studies that came out around people that sit, because the average adult sits about 6.5 hours per day.
Ooh.
And it really does a number on our brains. So and one study had found that sitting too much is linked to changes in a section of the brain essential to memory. So
Do you ever find that, and that I do find this is true, because like there's let's take a typical job. Okay, so when you're a teenager, you're starting out, you're there working fast food, or you're waitressing, or you're doing something with a lot of movement. So yes, you have to think, but there's a lot of movement involved, and so that is physically exhausting. I used to waitress, so I found it fun because it was a lot of people interaction, and I got really good at memorizing, right? Because you memorize the menu, you start to remember all of the orders, how to upsell, and then how everyone wants their eggs or their steak or whatever, right? So it's pretty easy. A lot of movement. And then as I got older, well, now I want like a management job where I can kind of sit back a little bit, right? Well, good grief, that's more exhausting than it is running all over the place. So when you have a mentally demanding job, that can exhaust you just as much. Like the overall body feel is just as exhausted as if you were waitressing all day, and walking around the whole time. So that is something to take into account. Is sometimes, I'm sure we've all hit that, where you come home from work, or even, working from home, doing all the health coaching, and maybe we've just had like a challenging day. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted. And you haven't moved, you've just mentally exhausted because you've done so much thinking, or so much problem solving, or a lot of stress responses. And so all those things that are triggered in your brain is triggering like body responses, which is then giving you that result of, either I can't think anymore, or it hurts to think, or I'm done. So we will teach you ways of like how to mitigate that, but just if you ever have experienced that. And I want to, I'll have the floor here, just kind of go into really quickly with brain health. And I know that Renee is going to get into like a bit of the nutrition and certain foods that will help your brain. And I'll probably pipe in.
Actually, I won't. Actually, I don't have any of that. Sorry.
Oh.
But if you do, go ahead.
EFA, so your healthy fats, your avocado, your sweet potato. What else? Well, fermented foods, basically things that are really good for your guts, is also really good for your brains. Of course, our anti-inflammatory foods. I'm sure we have listed that many, many times. You'll have to go and watch the replays if you don't know what we're talking about.
I know I've posted in my group and in my reset program and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure. But it's where I remember one of my really good friends, he did the Atkins diet like many, many moons ago, and he lost so much weight. He was looking amazing. He lost a lot of weight. But then one day he said, okay, I'm done. And he went back to eating the way he used to eat. And I said, well, what happened? Why did you decide to quit? And he said, because I couldn't think, Katrina. And so now, this was way back before I know everything that I know now. But what was happening is that he was starving his brain of nutrients. So yes, your body was losing weight, but if you're not eating brain food, your food, you're using your fat as fuel, and you're fueling yourself with non-enhancing brain foods, then you will feel incredibly depleted. And he said, I couldn't handle it anymore. So when you eat food, everything is broken down into sugars, right? And guess where your insulin, because if you're eating sugar, or if you have sugar in your body, your insulin is putting it into your brain, your muscles, and your blood cells. But it doesn't necessarily have to be sugar, because everything you eat is broken down into sugar. But you need to eat the right foods to feed your brain for brain health, which are sweet potatoes, oatmeal, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, avocados, your cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli and your cauliflower. All those and of course your coconut oil, your almonds, your avocados, your healthy fats, not cheese, not dairy, but your healthy fats, your cruciferous vegetables, and then your non-glutinous carbohydrates are your brain food. So I needed to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's true. Because Atkins now is the same, pretty much keto, right? It's Atkins was low carb, and keto has been around for a while. It just was renamed or whatever. Low carb has been around for many, many years, and it has its place, right? It's very good for short-term gains. Absolutely. And especially for certain medical conditions, it really helps. But you have to consider, if you're going on long-term, for sure, consider some of those things, because if you're not eating some of those things because you're on this diet, you may not be able to think, and you may be foggy, have that fog brain and stuff. So, and then really, how are you aging yourself? So, Katrina and I are not big fans of any diet. We're like, everything in moderation, unless you have a medical condition, but you should be able to, like, that's what we do. We coach you to say, let's be able to change your lifestyle. So you're not dieting anymore, right? You're not, this is just who you are. This is what you are. This is what
we also teach you how to listen to your body, because so many people have been eating so much processed food for so long. You no longer recognize the signals that your body is screaming at you. And so your brain could definitely be giving you like, oh my gosh, pay attention to me. And it will you'll have symptoms. A symptom is your body's way of saying, help me, stop putting this poison into me. And when I say stop putting this poison into me, I'm not always talking about sugar and alcohol. It could be soy products. It could be red meat. It could be gluten. It could be dairy. It could be tomatoes.
Like whatever it is for you.
Work with a health coach, and you find out what your triggers are, what is causing the inflammation.
Yeah. And it's really good if you can get food sensitivity testing done, because then that's what I did. I was able to through my naturopath, and now I offer it as well. But you can quickly find out, like, what the heck, I found out I wasn't able to eat salmon. I was like, salmon? I'm like, really? But now I eat salmon, I'm fine. And what I do want to say is, just because you have a food sensitivity doesn't mean you're having it for the rest of your life, or that you've had it before. It could be just where you are in your life, and that your body doesn't need that right now. It doesn't want it. So Anyway, we've kind of gone a little bit off track, but that's what we do.
Sure do.
Okay. All right. Let's get back on track. All right. I'll just keep going, because I have a couple of things. I'm going to talk about sleep, because me, I love sleep. It's so important. You should get at least 7 hours a night of sleep, because what happens when you sleep, your brain flushes out all of this waste material. And there's these cells called microglial cells in the brain, and they clean out these toxic proteins called beta amyloids. And what happens is these amyloids can clump together and form the plaques, which cause Alzheimer's disease. So these microglial cells are like little scrubbing bubbles, and you need enough time in sleep mode to actually get them to clean out those toxins. And you need at least 7 hours a night to actually do that. And if you can't get 7 hours a night, then take a nap and really try to get in. What you really need is to get into that REM sleep and that deep sleep. You want to get that, because especially deep sleep, that's where all your restorative action happens. But REM sleep is also important for the brain. So you want to make sure you're getting into your REM sleep and your deep sleep. And you probably figure that out, especially if you're tracking, like I track with my watch. I'm a geek, right? I love data. I've been a data analyst for many years. I've done that. I can tell when I don't get deep sleep or REM sleep, because I'm foggy. Like, I actually can't concentrate the next day. I'm tired, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. So
Yeah.
you know if you're getting good quality sleep or not just by how you can concentrate the next day. So that's so
And
important.
no amount of coffee replaces a good night's sleep. I've
No,
tried.
no. Sleep is just so good for everything, but specifically your brain, it is. Another thing, stress. You need to be able to handle your stress. It is so important. Actually, stress is good in small doses because it helps motivate you and helps you, focus attention. But most people have prolonged stress, chronic stress, just because of the way society is today. I go into my little, diatribe about, we're not being chased by woolly mammoths anymore, but or saber-toothed tigers, but our bodies don't know the difference between a work deadline or sitting in traffic than a woolly mammoth. So our cortisol levels rise, and then it's just, it just affects the brain because, we have to, like, all that worrying, we internalize our emotions. And again, it all relates back to those amyloid toxins that can cause Alzheimer's. So they accumulate. If we can't get, if we're not producing the right cells, we can't clean out those toxins again. So, and then of course, stress promotes cortisol, our stress hormone. And cortisol actually can kill brain cells. So you don't want to be in that high state of stress all the time. So you really need to find ways to manage your stress. I know it's easier said than done, but you need to, if you feel yourself, and, I don't know if you know this, Katrina, but I had gone on stress leave when I was in the corporate world. I had to take stress leave. So many things were happening in my life, and I was like, I can't function at work. I just needed to. I felt like I wasn't giving 100% at work. So I'm like, I got to take some leave. And I did. And I saw a therapist. And what I found is that I operated here, like just to who I am. I'm always operating on this high level, like this vibration. And then any amount of stress just puts me over the top. And I needed ways to cope. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is because it's so important to be able to find ways that you can cope with your stress levels and stuff, because if not, you're constantly vibrating at this high level, this chronic stress, and your body is just like, please help me. So
That's true. And I mean, of course, working in the field that I work with, especially with people that are suffering from burnout, so yeah, they're up here all the time.
yeah.
And then, like, one of the little challenges is I always ask people, do you know how long it takes for you to relax? And I'm like, do you actually get to a relaxed, state? So, and I'm not taking a weekend, like maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's 5 days, maybe it's a full 7 days. When's the last time you've been on vacation? And when you're on vacation, can you relax? Because a lot of people will take their vacation and then fill it with all of these activities. And I get that there is exploration vacations, but if you are already operating super high up here, you don't need another excursion or a sightseeing tour. It would be, okay, taking the time to be on a cruise or be at a resort where you're confined and you're safe and you just enjoy being there. But a lot of people have a hard time doing that. I mean, and I fell into that trap. That's why I work with the people that I work with, is because I was in that trap all the time. We always had to do something. We never had like a lazy day. What was a lazy day? Why would we have a lazy day? I can't have a lazy day. Now I was like, okay, no one talked to me on a Sunday, and it's like a rule. But and I will give my new husband like full on credit. He taught me that it was okay to take a day, because in my world, you don't ever stop, right? So that's, whether you're taking care of kids or whether you're taking care of elderly parents, or whether you're stuck at work, and then they're like, work is just on. But you also, like, can you leave work at work? Can you put up those boundaries? I noticed it even now. I've started a new full-time job for a little bit here, and people, like, they communicate on the weekends, and they email, and they bring their work phones, and I was like, not doing that.
Yeah.
I
You have to set your
realized
boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You do have to set your boundaries. I found that too. Even when I was still working in the corporate world, I would bring stuff home. And then what hit me was when, you know, one of my daughters, she's like, you work all the time at home. You're always working. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am. I never really thought about it, but it's true.
Because you just do it. It needs to get done.
You just do it. Yeah. And it's like, no. Yeah, now I have boundaries for me. And it's funny because the way it's totally shifted, because I do stuff like this at night now. This is for me, this is work, but this is fun work. But I don't actually start my work day until like 10 or 11 a.m. because before that is me time, because I know I can work into the evening, but I have my morning because I'm a morning person, but I want my mornings for me. I do my puzzles, I do my workout, I have my coffee, I do all that. And it's like quiet and I love it. It's just like my thing, but it's how I start my day. It's a routine. But if I do my routine, I know my day is going to be good. You know?
Set yourself up for success.
Exactly. So very important. But that actually leads into my next thing, because I say I do a lot of puzzles and games and stuff. That's another thing for brain health. You need to use your brain or lose it, right? You need to be able to put your brain through a test, right? Keep continuing to learn new things, right? People that have led mentally active lives, you know, they're so much better for it, you know, either through education, through work or leisure activities. They have more cognitive response. They put stuff into their brain bank, right? They're kind of building some new abilities, mental abilities, and you want to be able to challenge your brain by learning new skills. You can like learn a new instrument, learn a new language, right? That's really hard as you get older, right? But there's so many things you can do to just keep your brain active. And things you can do to keep organized, like use your notebooks, your address books, calendars, and smartphone apps to organize and store information for fast retrieval rather than relying entirely on memory. Keep things that you normally access, like your wallet and keys, in designated spots. Like I have a place that I hang my keys. If my keys aren't in that spot, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to find them. I'm like, what did I do? Well, I got to start thinking back, right?
I think that the human brain is also like, as far as memory goes, it is pretty amazing. And you've heard of uncovered memories, kind of doing a little bit of hypnotherapy. But let me tell you, before the cell phone came, I had everybody's phone number memorized. Everybody's phone number. I remember birth dates. That's my thing. Like I know everybody's birthday, but like family and friends and stuff. But now if someone were to ask me what my daughter's phone number is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Snapchat her, let me just get her on Snap. I have no idea. But I said, that's sad, because I probably knew, I don't know, at least 20 different phone numbers, as a kid, like your mom, your mom's work, your dad, your dad's work, your aunt, your grandma, your best friend, like, you knew all your family's phone number.
Yeah.
I always had that was programmed. So I think we underestimate how much information we really can pack back in there.
Yeah. But you do, as you get older, you do need help with that. So it makes sense to just set yourself up for success, but you do need to keep your brain active. And by learning new things is the best thing you can do, right? For sure. Another thing, interaction, socialization is so important for brain health. Solitude actually can increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease, which is quite interesting. So it is really important to stay socially active. Make sure you keep in touch with one or two relatives and close friends, besides the family you see every day. Make sure you keep in touch with people like once per month. And if they're not nearby, that's okay. You can do a phone call, you can do a Zoom now. There's so many ways that you can keep in touch with people. So, loneliness is linked to depression, and depression is a risk gives you higher risk for Alzheimer's as well. So it pays to socialize. It really does. And I will say, I went all through all these tips, but an easy way to remember this is, and I didn't make this up. This, this is actually from a doctor at the McCants Center for Brain Health at Massachusetts General Hospital, Rudolph Tanzi. He came up with this idea called SHIELD. And it's like, if you want to make sure you keep your brain active and don't want your brain to decline, SHIELD. So sleep, handle stress, interact with friends, exercise daily, learn new things, and diet. It's an easy way to remember.
I love it.
I know. I'm like, I love acronyms. So I'm like, I'm totally saying this. So
no,
yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah. So that's what I had to say. And I know you have some stuff around that you wanted to talk about.
Well,
right?
I kind of did talk just that your brain needs glucose and that everything is broken down. So I kind of spit it out there earlier. The only other thing that I was thinking is that salmon is really, really good for your brain as well. And if you do find that you're not remembering things, that the salmon oil, so you can get like the fish capsules, or the EFAs, like your 369s, which are capsules as well. Or if you like salmon, then have salmon once a week, just adding it to your diet once a week. And just kind of was going to reiterate what you said, Renee, like if you put things in the same spot, that creates pattern, and we are very habitual creatures. And if you've read the book, I am thinking of it, The Power of Habit. There it is. I can see it. Okay. It's called The Power of Habit. And they actually talk about the cognitive function of your brain. And so people with Alzheimer's, or people who are starting to deteriorate with remembering, they'll leave the house and then forget where they are. You can actually create a path, with landmarks, and they will remember the path with the landmarks because it's creating a habit. So even if they aren't 100% remembering everything, they will be able to find their way back home from following, turning left and seeing the big tree, or seeing the park, or seeing a garbage can, or the red Corvette that never leaves the driveway. So things like that. So the brain is made to function very highly on routine. That's why we stress your morning routine. As Renee just said, I'm not going to start my day till 10 or 11 because this is my routine. This is my habit. So the brain health, the habits, the routine, everything we're talking about all flows into longevity. I don't know, unless you want to die early. I'm not ready to go yet.
Yeah, so, I know. I tell you, and it's getting older. It's like, I hate when I walk into a room and I'm like, what did I come in here for? I have the squirrel syndrome. It's like you go for something, but then something,
distracts
moves
you.
Yeah, they distract you. And then you're like, what did I come here for? Or what was I supposed to do?
I read somewhere, you are never, like, the world is not full of distractions, only attractions. So something else is attracting you
Actually,
more.
that's really good. Yeah.
And my kids always laugh. They always like, Mom, you never remember. I said, guys, it's not that I'm forgetting. It's that my brain is overfull. I have too much to remember. So, like, help me out with this stuff, especially when they all come at you at the mom. Oh boy.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Family calendars work really well. But it's all, the more organized you are, the more habitual you are, the more routine you create, and you can change it. It doesn't need to be boring. It doesn't have to be the same every day, but we are habitual creatures, and your brain thrives on that. But, throw a little bit of spice in there with some puzzles, keep your brain active with reading, learning languages, learning something new, never stop learning. I used to get so frustrated as a kid. Okay. Like, can I just learn this, get it, and like master it? But no, there's always just evolution, right? So anyways, that's all that I had to say on brain health. Picturing me with my bike helmet on, because if you were to rewind, Don't you remember those old assemblies and the videos? And they talk to you about protecting your brain. It was all about safety. They didn't tell you like to eat healthy fats. They didn't tell you to eat your vegetables to make sure that your brain was healthy. It was wear a helmet.
Yep.
And nowadays wear a mask. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
We're good. Have a good night.
All right.